In this video, we're going to talk about using the LaTeX systems and sketching the graphs of functions in 2D. These are the examples. These are the typical shape of a LaTeX demonstration. Um, here's a cross product, and here's integral, and here's a summation notation, and stuff like that. And here's an example of graphs. You can sketch this sine graph, and you can do this little bit of a Riemann sum demonstration over here. This one is the parametric curve you can also do within Inkscape. And here's a little bit of additional edit we can do on that. So we're going to go through this. So this is a fairly easier than other things that we've been introduced so far. Just simply go to this extension command, and you can find this render. And under that render, you can find mathematics. In this Inkscape 1.1 version, there is this LaTeX. But your computer must have this LaTeX already installed. So they're using PDF LaTeX. So if you don't have LaTeX in your system, it's not going to work. It uses this root menu and try to access this PDF LaTeX. And other parts, such as, let me go and show the next one in here. Plotting those graph and parametric curves, they're also in the same, under the same menu, render. You can find function plotter and parametric curves, and we will use these extensions to sketch those graphs. Well, let's begin with the LaTeX part. Go extension, render, mathematics, use LaTeX, and then you will have this additional dialog box. There I typed in y sub k equals f of xk, and there's a dollar symbol. And if you want display mode, you have to enter display style as a separate command. You can add some sort of additional packages here. This is great. I tried various different mathematical fonts. Some did work and some didn't. So I chose this Math Pazzo. And I don't know how to control it, but if you apply it and it go through the LaTeX command in the system, they always appear in this corner, which I don't like. I wish I could control where it appears, but here it is. And you can make it bigger, and that's the thing. And I'm not sure if it is saved as a stroke or an object or something like that, but it is a multi-structured. You can ungroup it, but you can also use this control click, so you can separately select that one, you can move it around, you can do additional editing, you can make it slightly bigger for whatever reason. That's what you wanted to do. So yeah, it kind of appeared too close to Y, so control, you can make it a little bit lower, and then here, this one as well, control click, so you can do this little further edit. But if you choose everything and then go to path and think of this as a stroke path, and change that to path, I think you have to ungroup it, and it didn't work. But if you go there and click on that nodal using this control key, and you can look at this as a node and you can further edit, but I'm sure many of you won't be doing anything like that. But this moving things around by using control key, I find it useful for the slight rearrangement. So this is not supposed to be LaTeX instruction, so I'm not going to go through all those complicated things, but using just simply this LaTeX command available here through the extension, you can do, let me go ahead and show these example, you can create all these typical thing that we typeset using LaTeX. Right, here's another example showing that you have to put this display style to make it into the display style in LaTeX. So I already typed that in here. So if you apply that, and it'll generate that thing down there somewhere. So you can bring it over here, make it bigger. So that's how you make this one into a display style. So let's take a look at the graphing command. So you go to extensions and render. Underneath it, you have to find function plotter. So it's over here. Click on that. You have also a dialog box, and it has more options in there. I think the second tab, use, explains a little bit further what kind of functions you can use, and further help is in there. But I find it self-explanatory. There's a convenient one. It's a multiple x range by 2 times pi. These are the beginning and the x value. Y range is in there. And click off this polar coordinate thing. I'm not quite yet sure what these things are, but this works okay. And there is a one worked okay when I tried before. There's a draw axis or not, sometimes useful, but I would rather draw nice axis myself. So I will click that off, and I'm going to begin over here. Remove rectangle. I'm going to check. You probably want that. Before you sketch that, one thing you need to do, so you go to your canvas and draw a nice rectangular box with the empty fill in there, and you have to select it. The rectangular must be selected. Then if you run this function plotter, it'll try to fit your graph into this rectangular box. That seems like how it works. If you just go and apply, it'll sketch sine 4x, and it removed the rectangles we started with. So it seems like it make this one as a pure wave. If you click on that and do the path, as you can see, it's just a pure wave in there. And then you can add horizontal axis, for example. So you go to pen tool and hold control key and double click in there, make it a little bit um, thinner, and you can add arrow at the end to make it look like axis, and then you can place it there somewhere, like that. It looks like a sine wave in there, and then you can do other things around it. So let me go ahead and choose these two things and make it a little bit bigger and try to do that type of Riemann sum example. You can do all these using the computer software, algebra systems such as Mathematica. I use that a lot, but sometimes just hand drawing like this is sometimes have more freedom, and sometimes you absolutely need it. From here is nothing new. It's something we have covered already, but I think it's a good demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this rectangle. Then I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to hold Shift key and make it blue. So like that. And I think it's a little too thick to be Riemann sum rectangle. So again, I'm going to make it further into lighter on a thinner shape like that. So this is a rectangle you can put anywhere in here, somewhere there like that. And that already makes one. And here's the technique. You click on that, duplicate, Control D is a duplicate, and hold the Control key and make it move it perfectly horizontal in here, and place it over there somewhere like that nicely. I think this snapping tool is off, so if I turn on the snapping tool, it's probably going to snap it better. There it is. It snaps exactly to that. Next one. And then you can use this arrow button to make it a little bigger and somewhere. Then I have to turn off the scale, the snapping. Sometimes convenient and sometimes not. And then that's a second one. And let me create a third one over there, duplicate it. So control and move it over there, and turn on the snapping again, and control and snap it there. I'm going to shift it down so that the control again, shift it down. I'm going to snap it right into that. That is too tall to make a Riemann sum rectangle. And hold that one, scroll a little bit down there, so you can see somewhere it intersects in this horizontal part, then that's a Riemann sum. So those are the three rectangle I will choose to introduce, for example, general Riemann sum, not midpoint Riemann sum and things like that. That's usually the purpose. You can program all that, but it's easier in here. Next thing I'm going to do is this height point using dotted line. So go to that pen tool again and hold this. I have that snapping tool. Sometimes you go to intersection. It recognizes intersection as well, but I think it's somewhere there to save time. I think it's a path intersection is here. If I turn that thing on and see if this recognizes it there. It didn't, so I'm going to turn that thing off over there. So that's roughly where it starts. And then if you hold Control key, you're going to make it perfectly vertical and double click in there. So that's the height line. We want to distinguish that, so they want to make it red, shift red, and then we created that line. We want to change that to dotted line. So I choose one of the dotted line option in there. So we have that dotted line in there. I'm going to go and Control D, duplicate again, and hold the Control and move it over here, and actually locate it somewhere there exactly where it intersects, and then stretch it like this. So that's going to be the second line. Hold Control D, duplicate again, move it over here. We'll definitely use this intersection point there, and then shrink it vertically like that. So that will be the third one. And then you want to put little dots around it to show the clarity in there, to make it so make this circle with the red color fill in, and the Shift X, and that'll remove the stroke. Make sure you have a big one like that, and then you can make it small, just about that, and use it over here and bring it over there, place it in there like that, and Control D and move it over here. That's the height point we use, Control D and height point in there. Do that. Control D. I'm going to put it over there. And then I usually, put this point in the bottom as well. Then another one is Control D again, and hold the Control key, and then it's going to vertically move it down, make it really convenient. Again, Control D and Control down, drag down there. It'll make it vertical movement possible. Control D again, hold Control key, move it over there. Then it creates nice rectangular, three rectangles as a Riemann sum, and you can write down mathematical notation using LaTeX command. We did it before, so I'm going to do it very simple one. The thing is already here, so I'm going to do XK first. It has to be separate. Maybe it'll do a nice thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll try that to save time. But it is going to be, I don't think it's ideal. You have to do it separately, because you can, I'm going to do XK and then leave that YK part. It's the same thing to save time. Turns out, I don't know why it does it, but it does make this error sometimes. I clearly typed this XK in there, and it spits out something entirely wrong. I hope it does it correctly. Now it did it correct here. So there's a little problem there, but at least it does it. So XK, you can put YK in there to demonstrate this Riemann sum thing that I showed you earlier. So that concludes this part. Next one is parametric curve. Go to extension, render. Down there you can find the parametric curve. And we have a box parametric curve. It's similar on X and Y ranges. There's a still multiple of 2 pi's available. An X function and Y function in T. Remove rectangles, it's selected, and things like that. Just like before, we have to create rectangular box, remove fill, and have a stroke around it. Let me go ahead and change that to solid line in there, and then bring up that dialog box for parametric curve again. So I think it came with, when I first opened this parametric curve, this was what it was. So I'm using it, cosine 3t for x function, sine 5t for y function. If you apply that, and it'll try to fit the parametric curve in there and remove the rectangle afterward. So again, like before, this whole thing is an entire curve, and you can make it a little bit thicker by putting 3 points in there and 3 pixel. So it's that. All right. One more thing I'm going to do, like I showed it before, you can choose a certain segment by clicking on a node. You can see all those nodes are there. If you want to choose this particular segment and separate it from other part, want to color, or you can create a node here, exactly this part and that part. So you can create by double clicking on that, you can create a node in there. But I'm not sure, let me go and undo, because it's intersection part, I'm not sure how this one actually recognizes. So I will definitely choose this part from that part and completely separate this node clearly. And then in that, you can select that one. So to make it easy, I'll just use these two nodes that's already there. So I'm going to click on that node here and go ahead and use this one, break path at selected nodes. So if you select that, this one is actually broken apart now. So that can be separate path after we break this entire path. So put it back in there. Next one is over here. Click on that and break that node in there, and checking if it is actually broken. There it is. Now this go to the selection mode. This entire thing is a combined path, even though there is a break. So you have to break apart these paths. So click on that, go to selection mode, and if you click on this one, as you can see, that part is separated. Now it's a separate path. Then you can change the color, hold shift and red, and make it even thicker. And there, choosing 5 points, you can use a different end mark, and it's a smaller one in there, and another one smaller one in there, things like this. And then you have this separate path, and then you can color it. So I thought that's a useful thing. Sometimes we calculate these areas somewhere in here, then you can just use a bucket fill in there and put it in there. So right now it's a white color. Let me go ahead and choose a blue one and remove that if you like. If you want, you can remove the stroke, shift X in there. You can change the color of a fill, lighter, which is easier in our eyes and things like that. So that, and then you put that one all the way to the top order so that you don't see, go and the end part is it happening underneath the other curve. This is what you want usually. Go ahead and do that. So if you put that one in right under it there, one thing that's lower, as you can see, there is this thing that you didn't want. You want this thing up here on the top, so you can put this one all the way to the top. Then you have it there. All right, I think that concludes our video, but let me double check. Yes, I guess that's it. These are the contents we did today, slide, tag, and graph. I will see you in the next video.